All right, we've got a lot to talk about. One is that the 49ers have another quarterback advantage this weekend. Brock Purdy is better than Jalen Hurts. Two, we're doing another drive-in with David. You can see Coit Tower, Washington Square, all that good stuff. Look, we're on Columbus and North Beach with the Transamerica Pyramid. The sun is out, so we got out of the studio. But I want to talk about Purdy and also about the 49ers' larger picture on defense. The Michael Williams loss in Week 9 against the New York Giants, that ended up being a devastating blow to the 49ers. And as we kind of frame things here ahead of the playoffs, ahead of the 2026 offseason, I think it's really, really important to note how good and how effective Michael was for the 49ers. Listen to this stat. The 49ers, weeks 1 to 9, with Michael Williams available, were the number 6 run defense in all football. Number 6. Remember, they're number 29 last year. So they improved from number 29 to number 6 when Michael was there setting the edge. Number 26 without Michael Williams. Say goodbye to North Beach. This is Little Italy in San Francisco. Look, there's that original Bank of America building. And now we hit Green Street. We can shout out to North Star and Boardroom as we go up Russian Hill. We've got a couple cool locations for you on this drive. And this person better not try to back into me. Okay, good. Got to be aggressive in the city. All right, North Star, great Buffalo Bills bar on the left. Awesome spot. And then Boardroom on the right. Sweet spot as well. They've got a Dwight Clark Clemson jersey up in Boardroom because it's a Clemson bar. And Dwight Clark went to Clemson. That's a really cool 49er story. I'm not sure if Margot knows this one. Maybe you do. Bill Walsh actually went all the way out to Clemson in 1979 to scout a quarterback named Steve Fuller. And he gets out on the practice field with Steve Fuller, and he's like, okay, I need you to throw some passes so I could see what you have. And there was no receiver to throw passes to, and he was not going to throw passes to Bill Walsh. So there was this, skinny white dude walking by the football field who was on the football team at Clemson, and his name was Dwight Clark. And they called him over to catch some passes from, take a look at Alcatraz. This is Mason Street. That's sweet. They call him over to catch some passes from Steve Fuller. And that's when Bill Walsh was like, oh my goodness, this guy, Dwight Clark, can play. And he ended up drafting him in the 10th round of the 1979 draft. And obviously the rest was history. So that's the history behind Boardroom. But right now we want to talk about the 49ers here in 2025. The biggest thing they had to fix from 2024 was their run defense. And even after the losses of Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, they were a good run defense until they lost Michael Williams. Now, I think a lot of people don't understand just how valuable Michael was setting the edge and then rushing from the inside on passing downs. He was their Eric Armstead, and I think he was doing it at an effective level this year. And then, if you want to zoom out and look at this big picture-wise, I really believe that when he comes back next year from the torn ACL, the 49ers are going to be in a really, really good starting spot. Maybe they go after Max Crosby in a trade. Maybe they can get somebody else for the book-ending edge rushing position to Nick Bosa. But you get Bosa back and you get Michael back, and you have the foundation of what they were trying to build this offseason back in place. And it's no coincidence that the defense really, really started to crumble after Michael went down against the New York Giants in Week 9. Because if you don't stop the run, you're not going to maintain control of any game flow. You can give up a lot of yards. You can operate without a pass rush. Look, there's Swenson's with their Turkish coffee ice cream. Here's a guy with a scooter in the middle of the intersection. That's not all too smart, but we made our way past him and we're good. Maybe I should have turned on hide. I was just a little dissuaded by the guy with a scooter blocking traffic with a green light. There's wild stuff in the city. But the 49ers could have gotten away, and they did get away with their anemic pass rush. I get that it wasn't good after they lost all those guys to injury, as long as they were stopping the run. Okay, this person tried to go. Unbelievable. Lyft driver trying to cut me off. It's not going to happen. But, they were okay without that pass rush as long as they could stop the run because they were able to just sag back on defense and be opportunistic. And what happened when Michael went down is that they were no longer able to effectively stop the run. And then elite offense and special teams was no longer the only ticket for the 49ers. And that's why they lost the game against the Seattle Seahawks, because that was a game where you needed to maintain some game control to give the offense a few more chances. And obviously when they gave up 3rd and 17, it didn't happen. Smart car getting towed.
Like
That's a look, and here's the parking guy. This is a brutal day. That's going to be about $800.
Rough.
Parking guy waving to us. Very nice. He's not towing us, so it's all good. Offense for San Francisco needs Ricky Pearsall and Trent Williams. Brock Purdy finished as the number 2 most efficient quarterback in all football. Number 2 in QBR, number 2 in EPA. It was an elite season, an elite regular season for Brock Purdy when he was available. Just imagine what Brock Purdy might be able to do once he is fully past the turf toe and once he has consistent wide receiver production, because unfortunately injuries made that very difficult for the 49ers this year. We got the Thursday Night Football truck ahead of us.
That's the Amazon truck.
Yeah, it's the Amazon truck. They're advertising Thursday Night Football, and I can remember a really great game against the Rams, Week 5, with Mac Jones, and that reminds me that the 49ers had 2 quarterbacks, Margot, 2 quarterbacks this year finish in the top 10 of QBR. Purdy at number 2 and Mac Jones at number 9. For all that went wrong this regular season for the 49ers, all the injury adversity, we talk about losing Michael Williams on top of Bosa and Warner. We talk about the bottom falling out of the run defense. Somehow the 49ers still won 12 games in the best division ever. This is the first division, the NFC West, to ever have 3 teams winning 12 or more games. Well, the primary way that the 49ers were able to do that was because they had 2 quarterbacks playing stellar football. And it was Mac Jones who delivered on that Thursday night in Week 5 at LA in the most improbable fashion. I mean, the 49ers were down to a skeleton crew offensively, and Mac got it done. And it wasn't just Mac, it was then it was Brock Purdy playing at an even higher level. And if you look at the team tier chart now for the 49ers, it ended up exactly where we said it would end up if Brock Purdy was able to come back and be decently healthy and play the elite football that we knew that he was capable of playing. The 49ers have a top-tier offense. They're the very top bunch of teams when it comes to offense, and a below-average defense, because they did lose the pieces that we discussed. And they've given themselves a shot. That's the thing. They've given themselves a shot entering Philadelphia with a flawed team. They're playing another flawed team in the Eagles this weekend. You know, Philly last year, they were elite across the board. Because of Saquon Barkley averaging nearly 6 yards a carry, even with Jalen Hurts as the quarterback, the Philadelphia Eagles were a top 5 offense, and the defense was a top 2, top 3 unit. They've lost quite a bit of juice on both sides of the ball. They went 11-6 this year. The problem for the 49ers as we enter Pack Heights, we're going to see some nice houses. We're going to see some remnants of Christmas decorations. There's Santa making his way up the bay window.
Is he climbing or is he falling?
I think he's climbing, or he's hanging there, like he's just hanging on by a thread by the windowsill so he doesn't fall down. Oh, the Carolina Panthers and the Rams. You know, that reminds me of the dream scenario for San Francisco this weekend would be, listen to this. What if Carolina wins, massive underdogs against the Rams? What if the 49ers find a way to win the next day against the Eagles? And what if the Green Bay Packers find a way to win against the 2 seed, the Chicago Bears? What if all 3 of those things happen? I'm going to go straight here because there's cars blocking the hill. If you have all 3 of the lower seeds win, and I know that I guess that the Panthers are technically the higher seed, but if you have all 3 underdogs win this week, the 49ers would get to play the Carolina Panthers in the divisional round. And then they would be a win over the Panthers and a Packers win over the Seahawks away from hosting the NFC Championship against Green Bay at Levi's Stadium. Now that's a tremendous uphill climb, the scenario that I just listed. It's probably going to be blown up by the Rams beating Carolina. But crazier things have happened, and Carolina's already beaten the Rams at home. All they would have to do is replicate that. So maybe there is a matchup issue for Matthew Stafford and the Rams against that Panthers defense and that Panthers secondary. Anyway, I digress. That's the dream scenario for the 49ers as we make our way here over Pack Heights. To beat the Eagles, though, you have to realize that this is the Italian consulate. You see the Italian flag, the EU flag. We were just up in North Beach, which is or down in North Beach. Now we're up at their government office. You've got some beautiful mansions here. I think this is the Flood Mansion. Do not correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that some friends wanted to have their wedding there. They decided not to, probably because it would have cost like $100,000 to rent it out. But, I mean, if you're in one of those mansions, you always get the view down to the bay. And on a nice day when it's not raining anymore, can't really beat it. Now we're making our way over to Pack Heights. With Philadelphia, this is a team that Saquon Barkley's averaging 4.1 yards per carry this year, which is like, okay. He was at 5.8 last year. There's been a big drop-off. I know they're getting Lane Johnson back, but I don't know if Lane's going to be 100%. That's the all-world right tackle for the Eagles. When I look at the metrics, both the pass and the run blocking have been worse this year, probably because Lane has been out since week 11. Landon Dickerson has also been beaten up. That's one of the guards for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, I mean, that's a team that we know to usually just be awesome when it comes to pass protection and run blocking. And this year, it hasn't been awesome. This year, they've been good, but they haven't been elite. They're going to try to get back to that against the 49ers, but it's been a Lisfranc situation for Lane Johnson, and they have kept on pushing back his return. I mean, initially, they were saying that Lane Johnson might be able to be back by week 15. That didn't happen. Finally, the Eagles got a little extra rest because they sat their starters this past week, and that could be a big advantage for them. And Lane should be back against the 49ers in the wild card round, but he might not be 100%. And, all of this is significant because the Eagles, they might be the defending champions, but they are not the same team that they were last year. And there's a reason why Saquon Barkley is not producing at an all-world level this season. And on defense, they're not producing at quite the same level as they were in 2024. But the defense, I will say, for Philadelphia, let's take one more look down at the bay. I just love that view. Especially, I just missed the blue skies, I think you did too, Margot. Margot, by the way, shout out to her. She's going to be flying back to Nashville to take care of some stuff tomorrow. So she's been recording some of these Driving with Davids, and she's been doing an awesome job. And she was sad that it was raining so much over the course of the past week, but looks like we're in a much better spot now. Anyway, with the Philadelphia defense, they lost, guys like Josh Sweat, really good pass rusher. He went to the Arizona Cardinals in free agency. We remember when they completely destroyed the Chiefs in the Super Bowl last year. It was an overwhelming performance from the defensive front. The Eagles can still pressure you. They still cover tightly on the back end. Cooper DeJean at the cornerback position, Adoree Jackson at the other corner position. I mean, they're still really good, but it's not like the 1 or 2 defense this year. It's the number 6 defense. They've lost a little bit of juice. They've had some injuries. I think for the 49ers, and this comes back to what we were talking about with them having elite quarterback play, all you have to do is give Brock Purdy a platform to show how much better he is than Jalen Hurts. Brock Purdy's also a lot better than Sam Darnold, but guess what the 49ers didn't do last week? They didn't give him a platform. I understand why. They were down Ricky Pearsall and they were down Trent Williams, and they're playing against the historically good Seattle defense. Well, in the simplest terms here, add Ricky Pearsall and Trent Williams back to the equation, or activate Jacob Cowing. He's going to be back at practice on Wednesday. I don't know exactly what the situation with Pearsall is, but at the very least, you have to have Trent back. Add those two into the equation and face a defense that is at least slightly worse than Seattle's last week, and you should get much better results if you're the 49ers. I think that's the only logical way to illustrate the dynamic at play for San Francisco. This is still one of the best offenses in all of football, but it cannot operate without two baseline pillars in protection and in separation. And those are two things that the 49ers just did not have last week. And that's why when they return to practice tomorrow, we're watching to see. Here, we're going to go up Presidio Heights so we're not stuck behind this bus. When we return to practice tomorrow, we're going to be watching to see if the 49ers do have a chance to get the protection and the separation back so they can keep up with Philadelphia offensively. Because, again, they have the better quarterback in this game. There's our view. Palace of Fine Arts, Lion Street Steps. This is Lion Street. The Lion Street Steps are awesome, by the way. Now we go down Presidio Heights. This is what I wanted. See the old brick on the road right here? That's what all the roads used to look like in San Francisco. Lombard Street still has it. Some of these streets are semi-paved over. It's a little bumpy as we go down. I don't want to break any laws on camera, though, so I don't want to drive on the wrong side of the road. I don't want to pull a Brandon Ayuk breaking laws on camera. Unfortunately, the 49ers could have really used Brandon Ayuk, but against the Seahawks, they could have used him this week, too. I was watching some highlights from the 2023 game against Philadelphia. I know that Deebo Samuel went crazy in that game, but Brandon Ayuk had a massive early touchdown. I mean, they just need space makers on offense. They just need to give Purdy a platform that any quarterback would need. You know, when you watch the tape and take a look at the Presidio, it looks beautiful today. Wow. It's amazing what blue combined with green does, right? When it's gray and green, well, then it just starts looking a little too much like Seattle all the time. But when it's blue and green, then you got it looks like the Tennessee countryside, or it looks like Northern California. I shouted out to the Tennessee countryside because Lombardi herself is doing a good job with the camera right now. So that's the Presidio, originally a Spanish fort, then turned into a U.S. military base, and then basically just given up into the national park system. And it's a golf course. It has a lot. I think Margot wants to live there at some point because it makes you feel like you're in the countryside when you're actually in the city. Steve Kerr lives somewhere here in this Presidio Heights neighborhood. That's the coach of the Golden State Warriors. So the 49ers need, I want to spin this forward into the off season. This could end at any point, obviously, for the 49ers. I think the matchup with Philadelphia is very even on paper. The Eagles do have extra rest, and they do have home field advantage. They're 5-0 under Sirianni, winning by multiple scores in every single one of their home playoff games. So, obviously, there has to be a realistic look at what the 49ers are facing this weekend. They've said that they're embracing the hard way, and that they're indeed taking the hard way. This is just the way that the cookie has crumbled for the 49ers this year. It's unfortunate that they won 12 games and they're still the number 6 seed, but that just speaks to the strength of the NFC West this year. We talked about the Rams game a little bit earlier when things were so intensely up against the 49ers. Well, the odds for San Francisco are probably better than they were back in Week 5. I think they definitely are. They're 3-point underdogs for this game against Philadelphia. They aren't 8.5-point underdogs the way that they were against the Rams. So we need to talk about the 49ers linebacker situation. That's one where every single linebacker that made the initial 53-man roster is currently injured. And injuries that concentrate themselves at one position group are especially killer in the NFL because, you could find some depth, but now they're going to be starting their 4th different Mike linebacker of the season to give you an idea of how things are going. Fred Warner is obviously still on injured reserve. Maybe the divisional playoff round, probably not until the NFC Championship game. So they've got to build a bridge back to him because now Tatum Bethune is done for the season as well with the groin injury. They've already had Curtis Robinson in there for a short period of time when Bethune had a high ankle sprain. And, Curtis is a good special teams player, but as far as the Mike linebacker role goes, it's a tough ask. That's why the 49ers signed Eric Kendricks, who was an all-pro back in 2019. He's going to be starting for them now at Mike linebacker. And I think that the hope for the 49ers in this situation actually is some addition by subtraction. Because Tatum was not good for this team, especially against the Seahawks before he got hurt. That was a really, really brutal effort. He had multiple missed tackles. He was struggling in coverage. And, there's a reason why San Francisco went out and got Eric Kendricks at age 33 off the street, hadn't played yet this season. And the primary reason was because I think they wanted him to ultimately work his way into the system and start for San Francisco. And that opportunity is going to be now. Now, will D. Winters return for the 49ers? He's got an ankle injury. He's not ruled out for the season like Bethune. If Winters can't come back, I think you start to have an issue if you're San Francisco at the weak side position, because Garrett Wallow was not all too good. Here's Ariscalt Bakery. Take a look at that, Margot. That's always a line. We're trying to get to this place. If anybody who works at Ariscalt Bakery or owns the place watches the YouTube channel, please reach out to me and let me know, because I just don't want to wait in the line. I don't have time to wait in the line. It's playoff season right now, but that's supposed to be the best
really
croissant.
Long lines.
Really long lines, yeah. Even longer than, well, no, probably not. Nothing can be longer than Butter and Crumble.
Oh, yeah.
And if anybody's watching from Butter and Crumble, we would like to check you guys out as well. But we just can't wait in a 2-hour line at 9 a.m. on a Thursday, because the 49ers typically have practice. This is one of my favorite strips in San Francisco, by the way. This is Clement Street, Inner Richmond. Like, you've got a lot of diverse, good businesses here. You could B-Star, which is basically the home of Burmese fusion food in the United States, is right here on the left. That place is excellent. Giorgio's Pizzeria has been there forever. We're gonna pass some fun bars, like I was thinking about the Stumble Inn on the Upper East Side of New York City. You talk about bars with creative names. There's one here called the Bitter End. We'll pass the Bitter End in just a couple blocks, and soon we'll be in Little Russia. We're gonna see the church, and then we'll be at our final destination. I think the 49ers have a chance against the Eagles, but things are going to have to go much, much better from an injury standpoint than they did last week against the Seattle Seahawks. And probably even then, the 49ers will definitely need at least one greasy break, which I think that they're fully capable of getting, because they've got one of the best special teams units. Maybe they have the best special teams unit. They outplayed the Seahawks, who were number 1 entering that Week 18 game on special teams, and the Eagles are down at number 26 on special teams. So when you look at Philadelphia and say, okay, their offense is worse than the 49ers, but their defense is better than San Francisco's, then you say, there's the Bitter End. Perfect. What a name for a bar. And the 49ers hope that this will not be the Bitter End for them in Philadelphia. And if it is, maybe you have to come back out here and do a show in front of the Bitter End, because that would be right on theme. But the special teams in this case is in San Francisco's favor. And I think back to 2021 when they went on a run through from the lower part of the bracket. They were the number 7 seed in 2021, and they beat the Cowboys, who were the 2 seed, and then they went to beat the Packers, who were the 1 seed, and then they finally lost to the Rams in the NFC Championship game. The way that the run happened for San Francisco is that they were opportunistic, and they actually found a way to beat teams with their special teams unit, even though it wasn't ranked well during the regular season. This time, it performed really well during the regular season, and the Eagles have not been great on special teams. And I think that this is a tremendous, tremendous opportunity for the 49ers to flex that third phase of the game to kind of break the tie, if you will. Because on offense and defense, if you look at the team tier chart that I always put up on X, the 49ers and the Eagles are in the same tier, although they are stylistically different. Philadelphia brings a lot of what Seattle did to the table as far as being stronger on defense than they were on offense. Regardless, this is more wide open than I think the NFC playoff field has ever been. The AFC playoff field is probably even more open than the NFC field, and we've seen parity reign supreme throughout the course of this entire season. And I think that we're going to see more of that over the course of these playoffs. And the 49ers will just hope that they're one of the beneficiaries there. If the 49ers can find a way to decently run the football, and I think that ties back obviously into Trent Williams and Ricky Pearsall being available, because you need that separation on offense to develop the numbers to run. If they can find a way to give their offense some sort of backbone. And I look back to the fact that the Chicago Bears ran for about 300 yards against the Philadelphia Eagles on the road. So I think that it is possible if you can schematically outfox Vic Fangio. And I know that's really tough. 49ers fans know back from his time working under Jim Harbaugh that this is a very, very good defensive coordinator. But if you could run for a $120, a $130 in this game as the 49ers, I think you could set the platform for Brock Purdy to take advantage of a pass defense for Philadelphia that actually hasn't been great. Again, it's been a good defense, but it hasn't been a great defense. The goal for the 49ers is to bring the type of offensive balance that they didn't have last week. And Philadelphia has shown those vulnerabilities. You establish that type of balance, and as the 49ers, you then have a real opportunity to let Brock Purdy shine, because this is an MVP caliber quarterback. Every single time that he's had the opportunity to actually throw to receivers, he has shown that. That opportunity wasn't there against the Seahawks, and the 49ers simply need to make sure that he has the platform to be able to showcase his skill set and maybe even provide the difference with his legs against the Eagles, because he is significantly better than Jalen Hurts. I mean, there have been entire halves this season where Jalen Hurts has not completed a single pass. And normally when you go into these big games, you say, okay, better quarterback. That's usually the way that the game is going to break. The team with the better QB is going to win. The issue for the 49ers against Seattle is that despite the fact they had the better quarterback, they didn't give that quarterback a chance in hell to succeed. This is called Park Presidio Boulevard. The reason why is because it connects Golden Gate Park and the Presidio. Margot's looking over toward the Presidio, one of the grand boulevards in San Francisco. We're 14th Avenue now, so we're moving over into the outer Richmond. I would say, yeah, we're in the outer Richmond at this point. I think those of you who live out here, you can tell me where the border between the inner and the outer Richmond is. I think Park Presidio would be the border. I think in the Sunset, it's 19th Avenue, but 19th Avenue connects to Park Presidio and Crossover Drive and Golden Gate Park, and I think the geography of both of the neighborhoods is a little bit different. We continue to work our way up. I haven't made a prediction yet for this weekend. I'm gonna save it. I'm still running some of the tape. What I really, really don't like for the 49ers in this game is the fact that Philadelphia was able to get that extra rest. I do think the Eagles have been boosted by extra rest this season. Coming off their bye week, they gave up less than 20 combined points over the next two games when they came off their bye week several weeks ago. They did have to play some of their guys against Washington. You can't just pack it in totally when you have such a small roster in the NFL, but they were able to rest a lot of their key players against Washington. They obviously did not move up into the number 2 seed because of that. Maybe they wanted the 49ers. Maybe that was intentional. But above all else, the Philadelphia Eagles were able to get some rest that's going to make this a tough uphill battle for the 49ers. That being said, the 49ers had 2 straight short weeks against the Bears and then against the Seahawks. I've heard this Lakma place is really good, by the way. And here's Tia Margarita. That place could be good too. But Lakma's, I forgot what they have, but I've seen it on Yelp like with 4.5 stars a bunch of times. But for the 49ers, they needed the extra day, and they finally got the extra day. They're probably very, very thankful that they're not on yet another abbreviated week. And even a 7-day week would have been short for the 49ers, given the fact that they played 3 games in 13 days, ending with that game against the Seattle Seahawks. Say hi to the fire truck, number 14. We've now made it onto Geary, and we're on the home stretch. We're entering Little Russia here in a couple blocks, where I guess they still have a couple cool Eastern European markets that we were looking up, like super communist stuff that they had at this one market. They're like, even the service there is going to take you back to the Soviet Union. So maybe we don't visit that one, but there is a beautiful church up here. Oh, we'll get it in a second. It's still a little far away. Sorry, my cue was, oh, you can see it down Geary. We were here the other day and it was pouring rain and you could see hardly anything. Now you've got some bluer skies, not totally blue skies. We did go to the theater. We went to the Balboa Theater to see When Harry Met Sally on New Year's Eve. And the renovated Balboa Theater, really, really cool spot.
Personnel is even more entertaining.
There it is, the cathedral in Little Russia. And look, there's a Polish delicatessen. So yeah, you have all your Eastern European food in this neighborhood. And I think that, the rest advantage for the 49ers, it's a disadvantage relative to the Eagles, but the fact that they got an extra day, so they're going Saturday to Sunday this time, was so absolutely needed. If they would have gotten that Saturday game where the Rams are playing the Carolina Panthers this weekend, I think it definitely would have been over for the 49ers. But since they've been able to lick some of their wounds and gain a little extra bit of recuperation ahead of this game against Philadelphia, I think that the 49ers do have a chance to play this on a semi-even platform. Philly probably has a little bit of an advantage in terms of freshness, but the 49ers will have the advantage at quarterback. And so many times it does come down to that. Now, look at that shot right now. That's nice and colorful. It's like a combination of Russia and the United States. Ace Hardware and an Eastern Orthodox church. This is right near George Washington High School, by the way, which has probably the nicest view of any football field in the United States. They've got a view of the Golden Gate Bridge because they're just up the hill here to the left. Anyway, we'll talk soon. That does it for us. The 49ers and the Eagles coming up on Sunday afternoon. Prediction coming later this week. We just talked about Michael Williams and the run defense, Brock Purdy, and a sensational year at quarterback. That's kept the 49ers afloat. Let's see how much longer they can survive in this 2025-2026 season.